Hey guys, this is Daniel, Dr. D, and today I'm going to give you an overview of this Will Vincent Dynaco ST-70. And if you've never heard of these before, now is your opportunity to hear about some details of them. Interestingly, when you go to YouTube, there's like nothing on this stuff. And it's so weird to me. This is what I can't figure out about a lot of the YouTubers that are out in the industry. Why don't they reach out to these people like Will Vincent, um, um, Alan Eaton, for example, that I've talked to in my previous video, or Kenny Russell, and look at some of the nice work that these people do to produce something that sounds fantastic. And so what Will Vincent basically does is he takes the original, is my understanding, the original design, and he basically restores it to new, which it is. And this thing is like a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as build quality. And he puts all these nice caps and resistors and all these beautiful things that are done to this to really make it nice. And it sounds fantastic. I'm going to get to that in just a moment and tell you a little bit about this and a recent audio science review that criticized the Dynaco, which I'm going to get to in a moment. But first, one of the things I like about this compared to the original designs, the negative and positive RCA outputs, inputs are on the front. Whereas on here, Will has got them placed on the back, which is so much more convenient. And you don't have this wire. You have clean wiring in the rear of the device rather than the front. Now here I have a subwoofer, my Rel T5i attached here. You can see the red is right. I always say red right, and the yellow on the positive left. Now, the positives on this happen to be in the centers. Okay. And right here. Now we've run this thing with 4 ohm speakers and 8 ohm speakers. It works fine either way. It's 25 watts per channel. And the other thing that's nice is that the cable is actually, the power cable is actually allows you to be, it can be pulled out. So if you want to transport it somewhere, it's much easier than the original, which has the wire attached. You can't detach it. And so you got to kind of wrap it up and hold it with your hand while you're lifting it. This model here has the KT66 tubes on it. There's also bias on it. I'm going to show you in just a second here how this works. It's so incredible. So if I wanted to bias the right channel, I just flip this switch here to the right. And if you look at this meter here, you can see it's not quite at 12 o'clock. It's almost there. Well, there's a knob on here for the right. So I take this, put my hand here. Now this thing has been on for about, just so you're aware, it's been on for about 30 minutes. I recommend just leaving it on for about 20 minutes. Let it really warm up before you do all this. And then you'll notice I got my finger on here. I'm going to make an adjustment here. And watch that thing. I'm going to just dial it up here. Get it right to the 12 o'clock position. And that's where Will Vincent says you want to have it, roughly around the 12 o'clock position. Now I'm going to switch to the left channel. Look at that. Place my finger on the left bias and make the adjustment here. And I'm going to bring that up to about there. And that's going to pretty much stay there because this amplifier is really warmed up. It's really nice. It has a nice toggle on-off switch here, which is on the front now, as on the original design was on the rear. And like I say, it's 25 watts a channel. So I want to give you guys, I want to mention something about this audio science review. You guys can go see it, and I want to be very transparent about it because I really dislike the review, and I will explain to you why. What happened, I'm very familiar, I've listened to these amplifiers for probably about, 5 years now, like a lot. And so I've compared this to the Bob Latino VTA ST-70 together. They're, to my ears, they're very similar in sound, despite the fact that my Bob Latino VTA ST-70 has KT88 tubes. Now, I'm not saying there's no difference between tubes. I believe there are differences between tubes, the sounds of them. They're very subtle, in my opinion, compared to other things that can influence the sound. But some people are good at hearing them. And there are subtle differences you can sometimes detect. That is not always, in my experience at least, not always the case. Now, Audio Science Review did say the original design was pretty good compared to the newer one. And I don't know that I agree with that, because when I listen to these two amplifiers, I just don't get that impression. They sound so similar that I don't even know I'd pass a blind test. The build quality on both is really beautiful. But what I found disappointing is he measures things. And I don't get me wrong, there are some things I like on that channel on Audio Science Review that Amir does that I do find helpful, like power cables where he'll measure them and things. And he says, well, there's just no difference discernible that your ears would pick up. Some of those things can be helpful. But the criticism I have is that in his review of the VTA ST-70, which is so similar to this, is that he just briefly mentions that he's using Infinity speakers. And I don't know of any efficient speakers that Infinity actually makes. Maybe there is. But I asked, and there was no response yet. Maybe he's just got a lot of responses. This is one of the things I don't like about YouTubers. They just become so popular. What happens, they get inundated with so many questions, so many comments. They just don't take time to answer any of them, the questions or comments, And that's one of the unfortunate things that comes with those popular channels. And most of the YouTube channels, I don't know why they don't test this stuff and reach out and help other, audiophiles or technicians that are producing a great product. My understanding was that this was the Dynaco ST-70 was one of the biggest selling amplifiers in history, probably the most popular selling amplifier in history. I don't remember what the number was. I think it was like 500,000 or something. I could be wrong. You guys can comment on it, but it was some extreme number. And if it wasn't good, I doubt they would have sold that many. But this is not like a marketing company. Will Vincent is so low key. I mean, I don't know why these guys don't promote themselves more. It's sad, but I am so sick of marketing. I hate marketing. Marketing is the evil of practically all the things that we deal with in our industry, because people get so sucked into it. And in my opinion, it's just so much crap in marketing. You need it. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil to sell things. But I wish people would get off their high horse falling into the traps of it. I have Heresy 2 speakers. I love the Heresy 4s. I've heard them. My friend Mirko has them. I've told him this. I still have the 2s for a reason, But I just suggest to you, try not to get so hung up on marketing. Try to avoid it. Try to not let it influence your decisions. But just because, these YouTubers say, they review those things. I don't know why they don't review these more esoteric types of amplifiers. I guess by today's standards, because I don't know if the Dynaco sell anything like they used to sell when they originally had come out. Now I'm running it here with the Dynaco Pass M 2 preamp, which is the newer version of the Pass. And to my ears, despite what is said on Audio Science Review, this thing sounds so transparent. It sounds absolutely beautiful. I have the Deckware Zen here. Everybody rants about it, and if this is what your standard is, and it is a very good amplifier. Same thing with my Allen Eatons. They're fantastic too. I switch the amps around. I've sat and I've listened. This is the difference. I don't know how long that Amir had this amplifier. He gets this stuff, he reviews it, and I don't know how long he listens to this stuff, But you learn from listening over time. You don't just taste something. I specialize in telescopes. I do astronomy. I know what it takes to review telescopes. That's what I do for a living. And I've been doing it for 30 years. And you get these beginners who, and Amir's not a beginner, don't get me wrong, but I'm just trying to make a point here, where you review something, you can't review it overnight, or just, you learn over time how things change, and you learn to appreciate what they do. And he said something about the bass being sloppy. Now, I know in theory, tube amps are supposed to be sloppy bass, but I am telling you, when you run them with efficient speakers like these, they sound tight and controlled and transparent and three-dimensional. That's what it sounds like. It doesn't sound anything like what he describes in his review. He sees it on the graph. I don't know if it influences his decision, but I'm telling you, if you match it up with, this is why I don't understand about people that are they claim they're so experienced. Why don't they match things correctly? If in his review, my understanding is using an Infinity, he doesn't say what model it is. So you have no idea of knowing what speaker it is. So of course it's going to have floppy bass. It might be an inefficient speaker. And you turn it up, you're trying to crank it up. He's talking about 12 watts, 9 watts. I'm like, you don't need a lot of watts to make this thing sing, to make these speakers sing. These things are so effing loud, it would blow your mind. I swear, if anybody sat in my position and sat in this chair that I sit in and listened to this, they wouldn't believe it. I actually did a demonstration. This is why I don't understand why people don't put their headsets on and listen to the demos that I've put on. They only got like 80 hits or something like that. There's one that I did called Losing It by Rush, and I used the Bob Latino amp. That thing must have been playing about over 100 decibels in this room. It would blow your ears out. And yet he says it doesn't play that loud. That is just incorrect. It's because you've got to match the speaker, man. And I know this for a fact because I've been using these amps for a long time. So I know what they sound like. So you guys out there, you aficionados, you should spend time explaining more to beginners how you have to match amplifiers to the right speaker. And if you just briefly allude to it, that's not telling the whole story because you yourself aren't sitting and listening and doing it. So you have to get efficient speakers to do it. And they're just dynamic. This thing's just amazing, And I disagree with that review. I don't care what the graphs say. What I care about is when I sit down and I listen and it does this music grab me. Last night, I played this album 5 times over. Front to end, 5 times over. I sat down and listened very carefully. And that's what you do. You sit down. If it really grabs you and just you hear the cymbals, you hear the pianos and the plucking of the strings, sounds so three-dimensional and beautiful. These are beautiful looking amps, but they sound beautiful. And I was so disappointed in that review from Amir. And it was really a smack in the face to Bob Latino because I felt that it was just like he wasn't presenting it in proper context. And it's such a mistake. I see this all the time. It's like, come on, guys, you should know better than that. You should match things up correctly and do your reviews with that. It's so important to do that. So anyway, I hope that this gives you an idea of the Will Vincent amps. They're absolutely beautiful. They're so well made. I mean, I just love the work and craftsmanship, and they sound so nice. That's the thing. So, all right, guys, take care.